Hello everyone, and today on this video we are going to talk about Tarisland. It is a new fantasy MMORPG that is set to be released for PC and mobile devices on June 21st, 2024. Tarisland is going to come out as free-to-play with in-app purchases. This video is going to be based on the TBT that was launched on May 27th. So, please keep in mind that there might be changes on the official release of the game. So, without more delays, let's dive in with the characters. Rangers in Tarisland are like wilderness warriors, blending ranged attacks with the power of nature. Now, we all know we love elves, especially the one that looks at you like this. Moving on to the next. Warriors are the ultimate frontline fighters, charging headfirst into battle to protect their allies or unleash devastating fury upon their foes. Coming up next, mages are the glass cannons of the bunch, wielding powerful magic but relying on their allies to keep them safe. They wield both elements of fire and ice, but the build only lets you choose one. Next, we have our loving support. Priests are the benevolent heart of any team, channeling the power of faith to heal allies and smite foes. They do have a pure support build and a DPS build as well. So you have a knack for music and a desire to be the heart and soul of your team. Then the Bard class in Tarisland might be your perfect symphony. If you have a fascination with the mysteries of life and death and a desire to play a support class with a unique twist, then the Phantom Necro class is your cup of tea. Phantom Necros are the enigmatic masters wielding the power to heal allies and inflict damage upon foes. Coming from the dark, we have the Shadow Swordsman, or Assassin, weaving between stealth and brutal strikes on foes. Paladins are the paragons of justice, wielding divine power. They do have a tank and a DPS build to choose from. If you crave the thrill of the fight and the satisfaction of conquering enemies with raw power, then the Barbarian Warrior fits the bill to smash enemies for you. As of now, the characters are gender locked, but according to news in their website, they have decided to make both genders available throughout the coming updates. On Twitter, Tarisland shares their first two genders that would be released, which is a male mage and a female paladin. That was rumored to come out on the official launch, so take this with a grain of salt while we wait for more news. Moving on with the character creation, you can change the hair of your character, but sadly not the face. You can customize your eye color and eye type like the Sharingan in Naruto and add markings to the face of your character. You can even modify the height and weight of the character, but the adjustment can be barely seen, which is a bit disappointing. After naming your character, you are going to be thrown in this area for the game's tutorial. The abilities in Tarisland are currently fixed. Each class has a total of 6 skills that you can unlock as you progress through leveling. Each specialization has its own unique mechanics. When using various class skills, you fill up a gauge. When you have met the requirements, skills will be empowered, allowing you to cause more damage to your enemies. It's also nice that enemies show a skill range indicator to help players estimate and decide their next course of action. So far, I have played a total of 42 hours within 3 days, and I can fairly say the combat is great for both PvE and PvP. The small cutscenes looks awesome, and the NPC characters looks great. And one of the things I enjoy about an MMORPG is that you get to have more people in your party when raiding an elite or unique dungeon, which gives me nostalgia with World of Warcraft. They also have a damage meter implemented, which can be a good and a bad thing. Allow me to explain. The good side of having a DPS meter is that you'll be able to track your party's performance as well as your own, from damage to healing per second or the total amount of damage you have done in that instance. The bad side of it is, people in your party can also see the meter, in which case, if you are doing a mediocre amount of damage as a DPS, people can just kick you off the party. The same goes for healing, and truth be told, people in that party may remember your name, and the next time you join, they could just kick you off or ignore your request to join the raid or dungeon. And during a raid battle, the warning notice is actually nice as it guides you on what to do in the game, instead of guessing what you did wrong or what others did wrong that caused the party to be wiped. I find this dragon funny, the way it jumps back in the center field though. Now, after the dragon has enough playtime with you, it jumps and shoots a fireball, and all of a sudden you wake up and lose your memories. The environment details looks astonishing, and the user interface is very simple too. After following Jaya, you'll experience your first battle in the open against the centaurs, which is not bad. Moving on the settings, I actually like how they set the FPS cap to 120 to increase the smoothness of the game despite being able to play this on mobile phones. Some of the games today won't even allow you to get past 60 FPS. Having a switch option is also handy, especially in PvP, where you can choose to select the lowest HP within range and make it easier for you to judge your next action. Character stats are allocated automatically as you progress, and I know some of the gamers out there would like to allocate their stats manually to have a character uniqueness, and some do not like it since it makes it easier to not bother what stats they actually need. You can check your summarized skill description just by hovering your mouse over to the skill, which I find it nice. And highlighted items to be picked up are visible enough to see, which I believe people will find it pleasant. Even the waypoint stone does not require you to interact with it just so it can be activated. Just get near enough and it will. For regular dungeons, if you have been queued for quite some time, you will be paired up with bots so you can finish the dungeon. Now the bots in-game are decent enough, which I find it great. They might even perform better than some players. The story is not bad either, although I have to be honest. I did skip a lot of it since the game is only up for 3 days, so I had to play hard and work my way to the top as fast as I can. On regular dungeons, each instance has its own unique mechanic that you need to do, and it's also easy, for now. As you can see, the bots also does the mechanic of the dungeon. It may not be perfect, but still it makes it easier. They can avoid large-scale area of effect skills as well. For my take on the bots in regular dungeons is that it can make things easier for you, especially when there are no players specifically queuing for the dungeon. Now nobody wants to wait for 15 or 20 minutes or even 10 minutes just to get one started. This is also a problem with other games where if you play a game that's a bit old now and they don't dish out new servers, new players would be opted to play a server that has been up for months and they don't have other new players to queue in a dungeon. So their only hope would be having an old player probably who is already middle to high level in game to help you out. But what if you play solo with no friends and nobody to help you despite shouting in the world chat? And at the end of a dungeon or raid, a chart is gonna pop up, which I find interesting. Moving on with character titles when you finish an achievement, it does not give you anything beneficial. For the skills, as I said earlier, they are fixed depending on your class and build. You will only get 6. My take for this is it would be nice if they could add more for preference and diversity, but it is what it is. On this side, you can choose between different specializations of your class. Take for example this mage, you can either go for a frost build or a fire build. And thank God that this game is giving out a mount early in the game to help us move faster. It may not be attractive, but hey, who cares as long as it's free and helpful. The shop is handy, especially the potions, where you don't have to go and buy from an NPC who's far away in town when you are out on the field exploring or fighting mobs. You can also buy gears that are found in dungeons just in case you didn't get them or if you're having a hard time clearing it, as long as you have tokens that are also acquired through different means. Hopefully, when the game officially releases, there won't be stuff added for pay to win. Cosmetics are also awesome. They do not have stats on them. Hopefully that won't change. Some are acquired through achievements in-game, and the others are found on the market. But let's see how that goes later. They also have 2 different types of mounts, flying mounts and ground mounts. You can also purchase a skill book for your mount to use later on the field. The map interface is clean and simple, and it displays everything when you zoom in or out. I prefer maps like this compared to Genshin Impact's map. When you zoom out, some of the things are going to be taken out, and you have to zoom all the way in just so it can appear again. In regards to the regular monsters outside, they provide no experience points, so that kind of takes some part of the fun away when you feel like grinding or hunting for field bosses. Remember the old days when we used to explore maps so wide where we end up competing for the same boss for experience points, or items, and some weapon cosmetic that they could potentially drop. After following the quest line, you'll eventually reach level 9 and unlock the talent specialization system, which allows you to modify your class skills, which I think is neat. There are different modifications in the talent tree that you can choose from. Off-battle regeneration is also great, that you don't need to sit down for a long time just to regenerate small amount of health points over time or drink a lot of potions just to nurse yourself back before the next fight. Dungeons in Tarisland are unique and fun in its own way. You get to be a sheep and run away to survive. In regards to loot, each boss drops a different equipment or accessory. Take this for example. The first boss dropped a ring, and the second boss dropped a crown, and the final boss dropped a pair of boots. If you want to get the same kind of loot, you have to enter the dungeon again, because you will not get the same loot twice in one instance. If the same system applies when the official release of this game comes out, then farming gear would be easy since you will be getting different types of gears for each boss instead of getting multiple copies of that same gear. Going back to your abilities, the game will grant you 3 ultimate abilities that you can choose to equip, and you can freely swap or change it depending on your liking. The same goes with your class specialization and talent tree. They do not cost anything, which is a big plus for players to allow flexibility. While doing your story quests, you might encounter some slight bugs along the way. Like this one. Hopefully they can fix this on release. You also get to play as an NPC character when doing your story quest. Some are even touching to the heart.
I can still fight!
As you endure countless bombardment from psychopathic bats to reach the ballista for you to destroy. This scene would make you think that you would not make it alive and that you would have to start over. Moving on, the hardest part of the game that I have encountered so far is doing elite or challenge raid dungeons. The mechanics are challenging, especially if no one is paying attention to their mechanic notification during the fight, which will cause your team to wipe. As for the PvP aspect of the game, it is honestly a lot of fun. Joining in the battleground will allow you to team up with 10 people to fight with and destroying the enemy's base. By collecting these blue things that can be dropped by enemy players or from yellow minerals that are found around the map. Overall, my thoughts about this game falls nothing short of awesome. If you like contents like this, please subscribe and leave a like, and I will see you on the next one.